Hi there, my name is Trolls and welcome to Soundpaint. Soundpaint is a free and advanced sample technology that lets you command a multiverse of music instruments, all playing completely realistically and all behaving completely realistically on your keyboard, so it's like sitting with a real music instrument. One of the beautiful things about Soundpaint is also that you can morph anything you want together. So for example, you can take a big old school vintage synthesizer and morph it with a human voice. Let me just try here. The free Soundpaint engine also contains a massive suite of analog model effects. We have both modern and vintage reverbs, the same for delays. We even have some sweet tape delays, old school tape delays, compressors, granular tools, anything you really need in the realm of shaping your instruments and making them into anything you want. And in addition, Soundpaint doesn't have any notable load times. It's super optimized for speed. But most importantly, you can also import your own samples into Soundpaint, and Soundpaint is completely for free. But in this video here, I am going to talk about an additional instrument to the free Soundpaint engine, namely our beautiful Epic Taiko Ensembles. So everything you just heard was from Soundpaint. I have about 40 instances here. We're going to go through in this video here. And as you can hear, there's a lot of Taikos in it. But there's also some other Soundpaint instruments. I'm actually going to take the demo you just saw and release it on Discord so you can download it. And if you have the corresponding Soundpaint instruments, you can rebuild the session one-to-one. There's no mastering. Nothing else is going on but Soundpaint in this entire video that we're about to go through here. And this is all about the Taikos. About 13 years ago, I got the idea of recording a massive taiko ensemble. I wanted the biggest ensemble ever sampled. So we gathered 15 taiko players in a beautiful church to record them. We spent 5 days recording them, only to come to the realization that we had to redo it all again. It's the first and only time I actually had to redo an entire session, especially for 5 days. But what we learned about the taikos is that they're very, very delicate because they can be played super soft, which gives sort of a buttery-like sound, like ga-doom. I never really felt that's been captured in other sample libraries, which is really why we went deep into the soft sort of aspects of the taiko as well. But when you hit them hard, and you can actually hit a taiko drum, the O-daikos, with a baseball bat without it breaking, it has the hardest surface of any drum in the world. You go into a very, very different spectrum of sound. So imagine from all the softest sounds all to the really, really hardcore, and it's 15 players, it gets loud as But it's coming to a new light inside of Soundpaint. In Soundpaint, we now have the Taikos in here, 2 microphone positions. We also have a new Epic mix that we've designed specifically for Soundpaint. But it allows you to give 127 dynamic velocity layers in return. The contact version, which is the first version we had of this library, had 10 velocity layers, and that's cool. But it's a whole different thing when the layers are completely fluent and rendered in real time, which is what's going on inside of Soundpaint. So this video here, I just want to take you through it. I want to take you through the different kind of taikos. You can really use it in many magical ways. It can be sort of synthetic. It could be used as more sort of tiny metallic kind of snare drums, as you also heard in the demo here. It can be super massive. And this library is really one of the de facto gold standard libraries for the industry and has been for over a decade now. And I'm just so happy to have it in Soundpaint because it's so much more delicious inside of Soundpaint. So let's go through the video here. Let me take you inside the door and let's go through every single track. Thanks. You probably heard this choir in the beginning that was singing ah. That's not coming from the Epic Taiko Ensemble, but coming from another Soundpaint library called Beautiful Noises. I really love this sound here, and also used an ASMR sound on top of it, which is a free library for Soundpaint. You probably hear in the background here, there's a little bit of a horn. That's coming from our free Soundpaint library called Free ASMR. It's super cool. Let me try to isolate it here. I mixed that together with the choir, and that's sort of the intro of the whole thing. So in this first part here, I actually used the Taiko Ensemble Massive, which is a new microphone we've mixed for the library, which really has sort of a massive sound implied, and just ran it through the arpeggiator. Because we have 127 velocity layers, it's really fun to make unique grooves inside of the arpeggiator here. You can play them in the keys, but you can also just make an arp with the grooves here. Check this one out. And every time I play it, it's something new. You can probably hear sometimes there's a little bit of imperfection. That's what happens in reality. That's really what we want in the computer to make it alive. And just to show you how quickly you can make a new groove, check this out here. Super easy. So let's move on here. There's also some other things going on here in the beginning. So you probably heard some shouts here and sort of hissy sound. Let me just isolate them here. So there's a lot of things going on here. First of all, I'm using the clock here that you heard from our TikTok collection, which is also another Soundpaint library. I like to use the clocks on top of the taikos because the frequency is a lot higher. So I will accentuate the same rhythm with the TikToks, called the clocks as well. And that will really help build the groove in a more piercing way. So I like to think of drums in sort of frequencies, high in the top, sort of middle, and then deep bottom as well. And the taikos covers 2/3 of that spectrum, but not the super high. And that little riser in the end is also from another Soundpaint library called Uppers and Risers. You'll see it here, just called Risers 1 bar. It just helps build some momentum. I'm actually using these risers across the demo if you look here. Just makes it really sort of bubbly and alive. I love this part here. Let me try to isolate the sort of main taiko here, playing up here. So that's playing the shimes and the sticks. You can actually sort of clack both sticks, but you can also do sort of side clacks on the drums, and then you can play the shimes, which is equal to the snare drum in the taiko realm. Just a beautiful sound here. But you'll notice as well that I have the shouts syncopated with that rhythm as well. And if I add the TikToks on top, try to check out how more accentuated the beat becomes. Super sweet. Taikos and TikToks, who would have known? Let's move on here to the next part of the demo. So in this part here, I also used a variety of instances of the taikos here. Let me just isolate the main parts here. And I'm running that together with our palindrome synthesizer as well, which is just one of my favorite libraries. If you really want sort of big, organic, motion pictures, arpeggiations, look at palindrome. And then you probably also heard like this sort of piercing drum machine underneath. That's coming from the Red 522, which is also an additional Soundpaint library. The 522 is sort of the modern heir to the 808, the infamous 808. It's a little bit bigger sounding, has a really, really beautiful bass drum sound. I think the best bass drum sound I've ever heard in an analog drum machine. It's really piercing, it's clean, it sits so well in the mix, and yet it's modern and vintage at the same time. So this is sort of the middle of the demo, and I wanted to really focus on multiple taiko ensembles and highlight the different aspects of them. So there's both a lot of clacks and sticks going on, but there's also a lot of O-daiko movement, that sweet buttery sound I talked about a little earlier on. Check this part out here. I'll just isolate the taikos alone. Isn't that sweet? Let me just try to show you here on the keyboard how it actually works. In the very bottom here, you have the O sort of buttery daikos. But as you work your way up on the keyboard here, you start getting different variations, different ensembles combined. Granted, in this patch here, I have 4 ensembles combined that are tuned in different ways. You can look here at the pitch and see that they're tuned in rather different ways. Really just giving the biggest possible taiko sound ever. So 4 ensembles stacked together. So that would be 60 people. So fat. And on the mod wheel here, you can really sculpt the dynamics. It just gets more aggressive. You'll notice here the equalizer here, it increases the higher frequencies. So that's the dynamic range again. Super soft and really, really punchy. So, you know, it's almost like not worth demonstrating on the keys. I'd rather just show more of the demo here because it's just a fat, beautiful library. You have the whole ensemble just laid out in one patch here. No key switches, nothing to interrupt you. You just have the full ensemble at your fingertips. And again, 3 different microphone positions. I'm just demonstrating the massive one right now, but we also have a natural close and a natural far microphone position as well, all recorded in this beautiful church. Let me just hold it right there. I got this sort of idea that I wanted to build a sound of a train moving with the taikos. And one of the ways I did that was to use our chorus effect. We have a really beautiful analog model chorus that allows you to sort of make more ensembles. In this case here, I'm using 16 voices of the chorus. So it's a 15-piece ensemble times 16. And then I'm using my mod wheel here to enhance certain frequencies. Obviously, you can notice up here the tempo goes up as well, but I just wanted that notion of a train sort of starting. This is a particular program I call snare-like ensembles because I almost think it sounds more like snares than taikos, and it's actually all over the keyboard here. That's the same ensemble, but using our chorus effect to enhance other frequencies and double, triple, 16 times the whole thing. And collectively it sounds like this. And also pay close attention to the beautiful 522 bass drum, that 808 kind of punchy thing, how clean it stands in the mix. I'll add the 522 as well because it's so beautiful and it sort of belongs in there in my opinion. And we'll come back, there's some additional hybrid effects that really help spice it up, including the infamous clock. That's the 522. Such a good sound. And on the flip side of that, let me just isolate all the hybrid effects as well, because there's actually a lot going on. I love to accentuate with uppers and risers and downers. They create more drama in the sound, and they're musical instruments in their own right. They just don't fall in the sort of traditional way of thinking about music instruments. But check them out here. And that effect is coming from the gate effect inside of Soundpaint as well. I love using it. You can always add it here in the UI and synchronize it to your DAW tempo here, or you can set it free if you want. In this case, I had it synchronized and I sort of gradually took the mix up here. A good trick in Soundpaint as well, if you want to control any parameter in the entire engine, just right click on it here, say add MIDI CC automation, move whatever controller. I love using my mod wheel here, and now I can control the mix of the gate. Let's move on here to the next part of the demo. And this one here is super cute. Sarek made this beautiful patch here using our digital reverb and really was playing with the dampening quality of it. And that sort of gave me an idea that I could almost sculpt a groove out of this sort of metallic shime, the shime being the snare of the taiko. Sort of a weird kind of sound. But I decided to take the dampening here and associate it to my mod wheel. So again, just right click on it here and say add CC automation. And that allowed me to do this. And you'll notice that dampening here is going up and down. And I thought that was sort of a neat effect, so that led me to create this part here. So I'm moving the mod wheel up sort of rhythmically, you will notice it down here. And together with the other instruments, it sounds like this. One of the beautiful things about Soundpaint is that we can be decadent. So before we were listening to a 522 analog drum machine, this part here I felt like throwing in an old school 808, a real 808. In fact, the most comprehensively deep sampled, ultra deep sampled 808 ever done, over 16,000 samples. And I love having vintage sounds at my disposal and combine them with new material. Also have electronic meet acoustic and just put it together in an electroacoustic symphony. So this is what Epic Taiko is about. I hope you've gotten a little bit of a taste for it. This library is one of the gold standards for percussion libraries across the industry. These have been used in thousands of movies and trailers and TV shows and video games and top 40 or whatever. And I still come back to them, and it's not always that it happens. In fact, it's rather rare that you can take something 13 years ago, bring it up to current time, get 127 dynamically rendered velocity layers, and just enjoy it even more than we did in the past, and really know that we never have to do this again. This is as sweet as it needs to be for Taikos as well. So thank you so much for watching, and thank you for watching our Epic Taiko Ensemble. This is Troll signing out. This is all about Soundpaint. Okay, just as one last thing here, I actually took all the Taiko patches in the library here and combined them all into one crazy thing. I have no idea what's going to happen, but it's going to be loud and screaming and Taiko-like.